For today's lesson, we are going to be reteaching lesson 1, which was focused on integers. The first part we're going to be looking at is being able to identify integers on a number line. We're just focusing on the negative values because those tend to be more difficult, and some things that you have to remember. So when you're going to the left on a number line, your numbers are getting smaller. And for negatives, we need to remember that a bigger negative, so 35 negatives, is a smaller number than 25 negatives. So it kind of goes in the opposite way when you're counting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what each of these should be. So this should be negative 26 because it goes 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So remembering they go in the opposite direction. So where is this point at? It's at negative 27. All right, let's do the same thing for number 2. Again, I'm going to start here and I'm going to kind of count going backwards to the left. So negative 10, then negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14, negative 15, negative 16, negative 17, negative 18, negative 19. So where is our dot at? It's at negative 12. And the last one, starting at negative 30, negative 31, negative 32, negative 33, negative 34, negative 35, negative 36, negative 37, negative 38, negative 39. So I think it's going to be really helpful to write them in because then you can double check to make sure that if you accidentally did like 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, you'd realize it doesn't match up with 35 because the most common mistake we'll see is kind of doing it in the opposite direction. So the dot is at negative 34. All right, so that's the first part, which is identifying integers on a number line. Now let's look at answering these questions about opposites. So what we have to remember, that a negative sign is the same thing as opposite. So when I'm just looking here, this has the opposite of 9. So if I just read each negative as opposite, so I'm going to write that. So our first negative is the opposite of, the next negative is the opposite, again, of, and then I'm just reading the number 9. So each time we had a negative, I wrote the opposite. So the opposite of 9. Well, what does that mean? If we worked backwards, the opposite of 9 is negative 9, but then the opposite of negative 9 is positive 9, right? So this guy right here is saying the opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. Let's try that again. Same thing here. I'm just going to write when I say what does it mean, I'm writing out the explanation. When I see a negative sign, I'm writing the opposite of, I see another negative, the opposite, again, of the number 15. So the opposite of 15. Again, we have negative 15 in the parentheses there. We have the opposite of 15. The opposite of negative 15 is positive 15. So that negative there means the opposite of what's inside of here. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. And let's just try it one more time to kind of drill it in there. When I'm writing the meaning, I'm writing out the sentence there. So I see a negative sign, so that means the opposite of, I see another negative, the opposite of the number 3. And when we're writing what the value is, that's what the numerical value is. We have negative 3 on the inside. This is the opposite of negative 3, which is positive 3. So again, this negative on the outside is saying it's the opposite of whatever's on the inside, so the opposite of a negative is a positive. Last thing we are looking at is being able to write integers to represent situations. So this chart was in your lesson 1 part 2 notes. This is really important. Use this to help you. Some of them are easy to know, like, oh, up is positive, down is negative. Others aren't as easy. So write an integer to represent each situation. What we do, as always, is we circle the numbers that are given to us. Highlight the keyword. So I'm looking in here. Juan's grade went up. The keyword that I see that's in our chart is the word up. Up tells me it's a positive value, so I'm just writing this as a 4. That's positive 4. Number 2, circling the number, which is 20, looking for the key word. Well, all I see is Stephanie and lost, so our keyword is lost. Even though it doesn't explicitly say lost, the word lose and lost are basically the same thing. So lose, losing something, losing money is not good. That is negative. Number 3, a submarine is 55 feet below sea level. So circling the number 55, looking for the key word, I see below and sea level. So below sea level, both of those words, below and below sea level, are on the negative side. That's underground. It's negative. So negative 55. The kite is at an altitude of 30 feet. So circling my key number of 30. What's the key word here? And again, just scan these a little bit. What I think about is a kite is something that's up in the air, and I know up means positive, so I'm going to look and see if I see any of these key words. I see the word altitude. So altitude is talking about the height of an object in relation to the ground. It's something up in the air, so that is a positive value. And last one, Brandon moved backwards 5 spaces, circling the key number. The keyword that I see here is backward. So I'm going to highlight that word. And the backward is negative. If you're playing a game, you don't want to go backwards. So it is negative 5. And that's it.